Hey, it's DFS and bets. We got Mangone from the Run Pure Sports side. We've got Keg from the Run Pure Bet side. Before we start, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And right now, we got some really good premium shows that are going on here. If you haven't already signed up, by the way, Keg, this is the whole thing. It's the bet sheet. We love the bet sheet. If you go on that, you'll find all the premium picks from our boys. Keg's got one up right now, at least one pick for this Sunday right now. And then, of course, there's Mangone, and Mangone popping his player props, and he's doing shows too. What's up, boys? How are you, Mangone?
Good, man. Wasn't the best, Tuesday night football, but hey, like Sunday was good, Monday was good. You can't win every day, but yeah, excited to be back. Excited to be talking some more DFS and bets with you and Mr. J, the Sports King.
Keg, we've got all these. You had a premium show on the Run Pure Bet side. That was a lot of fun. I love hanging out with you guys. First of all, it's entertaining. Second of all, it's a good way to make money. When's the next live show you guys have?
Well, for subscribers, Max is going to be live tonight and tomorrow and Friday for some college football live betting. But yeah, we'll be back at it for Saturday night for the UFC. Me and Joey went 3-0 last week. We got the wins there, and then we'll be Sunday all day live for NFL live betting. So from 1 to 7. So it should be.
It should be fun. I like it. Let's start with you here on the bet side. We've got Green Bay at Tampa Bay. This line is between Green Bay 1.5 point favorites and 2 point favorites. So I want you to talk about the line move here. We also have a total of 54. I mean, is Aaron Rodgers just going to come out and own Tampa Bay again? This is the old days. This is Rodgers and Brady, and both of them look like they're in their prime still.
Yeah, Packers had the bye last week, right? So the last time that we saw them was when they dominate the Atlanta Falcons. Give them kudos for, you can't really give them kudos for beating an 0-5 team. But, they did what they do, man. We expected a good game offensively, and that's what we got. They averaged, I think, 6.7 yards per play. They allowed somewhere around 4.7 yards per play against the Falcons. The one thing I will say is, we know that this offense is humming. Adams should be back on the field. He practiced on Monday. And when Rodgers has Adams, a very good offense turns into a great offense, right? So I'm not sure what the deal is with Lazard, if he'll be back. On the defensive side of the ball, though, I disagree with the Football Outsiders ranking. I think they look much better than a team in the high 20s in defensive DVOA. In my opinion, this is one of the 4 best teams in football right now. And I'm not sure we even realize how good this team might be yet. Bucs side of the ball, I was on their team total over last week. Plenty of opportunities to get over the hump of 23.5. They fell short. The Bears defense isn't a juggernaut, but they are somewhere around like 10th to 12th in the league, I think. And they had Brady. They gave him all he can handle, really, in that second half, man. The offensive line wasn't able to do anything to contain Khalil Mack. And Brady looked frazzled in the third and fourth quarter. So, it's not often that you see Brady have a lead in the second half and a game he doesn't get the job done. So as far as the spread is concerned, I like the Packers here. Okay. As soon as I saw that Adams participated in practice on Monday, I hit the button. He should play. Now, that line, I saw even 2.5 in some spots. And I think when the public sees Adams active in the game, I think we probably see the line get to 3. Not sure if we'll see it go to 3.5, but I think it'll probably go to 3. So I think if you're going to take the Packers, you take them now. Using last week's power ratings, I had this game at 5 points on a neutral field. So this line seems off to me. As far as the total is concerned, I think the number is about right. We will see a higher scoring game than last week, but I don't know if we're going to see 69 points put up like the Bucks Chargers, but it'll definitely be higher than that 20-19 total in that Tampa Bay Bears game. So I'm going to leave the total alone. I like the Packers here.
So, Mangone, I want to start with one player here, Tanyan. Robert Tanyan. It's a 28-point implied total here for Green Bay going up against Tampa Bay. And this is a guy now with Davante Adams out. He was getting a lot of work, but he's got 11 targets in the last couple of weeks. He's scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. He has 4 targets in the last 3 games. His price, though, on DraftKings is 5-1, and on FanDuel is 6-2. So it's getting jacked up a little bit. Do you have any interest in Tanyan? And if you do, is there one site you prefer over the other?
Yeah, this is the thing I just don't get, right? Like a site like FanDuel, okay, he is 6.2K. There's no reason he should be 6.2K when I see FanDuel mispricing guys left and right. Why is Robert Tonyan getting this egregious price? I get he got 3 touchdowns in one game, but come on, like this is absolutely ridiculous. DraftKings, he's 5.1K. Again, probably a better price tag. Tight end's not an easy position this week over on DK. There's not a lot that I like in general. So I don't really know how to handle Tonyan. I think he's great in tournaments, but cash games, I just can't really stomach him.
You can't do that. Okay, let's talk about both sides then. Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, Aaron Jones, Tom Brady. Who the hell knows who he's throwing to this week? Hopefully he'll get a couple of healthy guys. Like, can we just cross Tampa Bay off the list, or is there anybody there that you think is interesting? And what are you doing with the Packers?
Yeah, I mean, so you can obviously make a case for a guy like, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. I get it. But my issue here is Mike Evans, for one, his volume has not been there. I have a lot of concerns with that so far. I think he has like 18% of volume last week it was. I forget the exact number, but it's not Mike Evans type of volume, especially with a guy like Chris Godwin being out. And that was my concern with Mike Evans this season. Mr. Noodle Arm Tom Brady trying to throw him the ball deep. It's just something that doesn't happen a ton.
Is he noodle arm anymore though? He's making some deep throws.
We'll see how it keeps going. I mean, it's early in the year, right? You expect the old guy to look good to start out the year, but it's going to get ugly, sooner rather than later. But again, he's not. The problem is the volume isn't there for him, right? Mike Evans, like we've seen in the past, that is a concern for me. He's throwing to guys like Scotty Miller, even though he wasn't throwing him to him last week. He was throwing to Tyler Johnson. So I just don't know where to really go with the Bucs here. I think if you force me to pick a side, or force me to pick someone on that side of the ball, it'd be Ronald Jones specifically. Ronald Jones, the volume's been pretty good. It depends on what Leonard Fournette's real status is. Last week, he was an emergency backup. Obviously, played a Thursday night game, a lot of time to heal. So maybe Leonard Fournette gets mixed in more, and that could be a concern for Ronald Jones. Have to wait and see how that injury stuff is looking. On the opposite side, I like the Packers, but again, this is like a 54 total, and it's probably not going to get like the cash game love that you would expect. Davante Adams, his price tag is a bit expensive, and I just don't think you're going to have the money to pull that off in your cash games. In tournaments, it might be a really contrarian spend-up option. Again, people see the Bucs as like a really strong defense, and people might say, this might be the spot to stay away, but Davante Adams can cook anyone, so I wouldn't be concerned. Tournaments, I think he can make some sense. It could be definitely a way to get different. And then Aaron Jones at 8.5K. Again, that's a price tag that like, it feels like it's expensive. Okay. But like, doesn't, Madison at 7.2K feel expensive? Doesn't Mike Davis at 7K? Maybe it doesn't feel expensive, but it's a lot for that guy typically. What I'm trying to say is I think guys are going to gravitate towards some of these 7K guys I mentioned and 6K guys, while we have a guy like Aaron Jones, who could be a really interesting tournament play in a game where they're favorites. I know they're on the road, but they still use Aaron Jones a bunch. So I think there's a lot of tournament plays that you can go to here. That's really what I'm kind of getting at. It's one of those games where it has an 54 implied total. 84 would be insane. 54 implied total. And I don't think it's getting kind of like the love or the conversation like some of these other games. That's kind of really the point I'm getting at. So in DFS, it's also a little late game hammer at 425. I think this is a game that in tournaments, you can have a lot of interest in.
Okay, real quick, Keg, what's your thoughts on Tom Brady going forward?
I thought that he missed some touchdowns downfield in that Bears game for sure.
He missed one, Jay. What was that? That deep one. Who was it to? It was like he was wide open and he just absolutely missed it.
It was to Mike Evans, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. It was to Evans. Yep, you're exactly right.
Yeah, you know what? I think that Tom Brady has looked better than I thought to start the year, quietly threw 5 touchdowns against the Chargers. But I do agree with Mangone, probably the later into the season, you would have to think that the arm speed probably tails off a little bit at 42 years old. I can't see him getting better through the year, even though he might feel better in the offense. I can't see his arm holding up as well as it is right now, all the way through 16 games in the playoffs. But so far, I'm impressed.
Okay, guys, let's get to our next game. We got the Vikings hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Total here is 55. Minnesota 3.5-point favorites. This is interesting. Dalvin Cook is battling a groin injury. He doesn't know if he's playing yet, but he also said that Alexander Mattison is just a bigger version of himself. I mean, this could be a game where Kirk Cousins has a nice one. This could be a game where Mattison could run free if he's there. Thielen, Jefferson. Keg, before we get to you, I do want to talk about this from a DFS perspective first, because there could be a lot of goodness on the Viking side. And I wonder from the Falcon side first, though, Mangone, is there anybody from the Atlanta side that you're targeting right now? This team has been an utter debacle this season. And now Raheem Morris is their head coach.
Yeah. So if you're, I mean, I know it's noon while we're doing this, but if you're playing the, DFS and bets drinking game, we've mentioned the Dallas Cowboys and Atlanta Falcons defense sucks. So drink, now is the time. And the Falcons defense, it does suck. I will say, obviously it's nice. Dan Quinn is gone. So you could see maybe some of the players get a little more excited or get up, right? When there's a coach there that's been there a while, you kind of just go through the motions and you're just like kind of sick of it. But with a new coach being there, it feels different, right? It might be a little bit of change. You could see the Falcons just feel a little rejuvenated, which could be good, right? Because we want to have this game be a little bit closer. My one fear last week with the Panthers game was, and it kind of happened, I thought the game would go like over, but then the more I thought about that game, I was like, man, this total's high. And not only that, if the Panthers get a lead, they could just like do their best to kind of hold the lead, right? That's something you could see happen. And that's something you'd get worried about with the Vikings, right? Like, let's see the Vikings get up 20-3 early on the Falcons. Man, they are just going to establish that run, baby. I mean, it is going to be handoff after handoff. They might even run the wishbone offense. That's how much they like to run the ball. So that is the one concern. I think you could maybe see the Falcons offense get back, here a little bit. I don't know what Julio Jones' status is, but Julio, I assume, is going to be back, right? You'd have to think he's back by now. I mean, he didn't play last week, but the week before he was like kind of in and out. I feel like he's got to be back for this week. It's also in a dome, right? So it's a decent environment to be in. I don't know. I expect him to be back, but if he's not there, obviously that's going to hurt the offense a ton. I think a lot hinges on him being in there, because what happens is he causes doubles over the top, which helps a lot of underneath routes for guys like Calvin Ridley. He's going to get force fed the ball if there's no Julio Jones, and he's a really good player if there's no Julio. Obviously, I think with Julio being in, that helps a ton for maybe him to get that massive ceiling, because what I think happens is he has more one-on-one opportunities where he can break things. He does get a lot of volume where he'll get peppered. Like you saw it with Stephon Diggs last night. Stephon Diggs was great last night. He had 10 catches for, 100 yards, which is great, but he didn't capture that ceiling. And the reason why is he's getting, doubled over the top a ton, because there's, they're not worried about Cole Beasley underneath. So that's one thing to look at a little bit on the Falcons side of the ball. But Ridley, I think he's a really, really good tournament play as a spend-up receiver that people won't feel comfortable going to, because there's a lot of other receivers that, if you look, like, let's just go to that range right now. Holden, I'm going to go to that range. I don't have my DraftKings thing up, but if you go to the range, you got Devontae Adams there, right? Who's another, like Mike Evans is probably there. People are used to spending money at that receiver range. So I pulled up the receivers now as I stalled, and he's 7.8K. He's the second highest receiver. While you have Adam Thielen, who's on the opposite side, he's going to be chalk. He's seen like the highest market share of any receiver at 7.3K. Now, I'm not saying you fade Adam Thielen, but he's a great leverage play off of a Calvin Ridley if you want to. What you could do in tournaments is you could say, listen, I'm going to double leverage off of Adam Thielen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fade Adam Thielen in tournaments. I'm going to play Justin Jefferson, because if Adam Thielen doesn't play well, then who plays well? Probably Justin Jefferson, probably Alexander Mattison. They have better games. So you can go to that. And then you can also leverage that same exact tier by playing Calvin Ridley. Again, in tournaments, that's something I would look at. In cash games, Adam Thielen, Alexander Mattison, like, let's attack this Falcons defense. I want in on that.
All right, Keg, here's what I'm looking at. That hook's bothering me. It's 3.5 with Minnesota at home. We know Atlanta's reeling, and the total at 55. How do you feel about the spread first and then the total?
Yeah, listen, the Minnesota Vikings played well on Sunday. Did they get the win? No, they didn't. One of the best quarterbacks in football probably our current MVP in the league, drives down the field, no time left on 4th down. He gets the job done at home. Nothing much you could do about that, right? But they were without Dalvin Cook for about half the game, right? Now, Holden, you and I were talking about that game on Monday night, and you said to me that you didn't think Alexander Mattison was really that much of a downgrade. And if that's true, okay, how are they not covering 3.5? The defense fared somewhat well against one of the best offenses in football, okay, the other night. And they're going to look better against the Falcons because everybody looks better against the Falcons. On the defense, on the other side of the field, the Falcons. As far as the Falcons, what do you say about the team, right? The first coach that gets axed on the year, Dan Quinn. Okay, great. Does that mean anything? Are we to believe that they're going to get a boost and rally around the interim coach? Because, anybody that's betting the Falcons this week is betting the Falcons for the same reason that they backed the Texans last week. The Bill O'Brien factor, not being in the locker room. Now, in my opinion, I think that even though they're 1-4 and 0-5 teams, the Minnesota Vikings have looked a lot better this year than the Atlanta Falcons. Now, you're right. Do I feel comfortable laying 3.5 at home? Probably not. But still, if you had to pin me down and I was taking one side, I would lay the 3.5. And I'm definitely on them if it somehow gets to 3. No doubt in my mind, I will lay that field goal at home with the Minnesota Vikings. As far as the total, I'm not touching it. It's hard to bet unders with these two teams. So I guess I'll give the slightest of leans to the over, but I'm off it. Right now, though, I've given a lot of thought into just hitting the button right now on Minnesota at 3.5. I'm going to wait to see if somehow it does get to 3. But even if it doesn't, I still might lay the 3.5 because I think Minnesota has proven themselves a better football team through 5 weeks.
Hey, Mangone, last thought on this game. Madison you're not losing anything with Madison and Dalvin Cook, right? I mean, even Dalvin said he's just a bigger version of him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're losing much, right? So I like Madison at 7.2K. He's definitely going to be a really good play. I kind of like that they priced him up. It might be a bit uncomfortable, right? People see that price and are like, that's a lot for Alexander Madison. But hey, I'm perfectly okay with playing him there. So I'm with you on that. And I don't know if you noticed, Holden, if you're playing the drinking game, the DFS and best drinking game, Jay said don't pin him down. So no one's trying to pin you down, Jay. But
settle down over there.
That's a drink right there if you're playing the drinking game.
Now I'm never going to say it again. How about that?
No, you got to say it. Every week you got to say it, Jay. You got to say it so the people can drink while they play.
I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. What is this game you guys are playing?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying the things I hear every week on the show, right? We've been doing a show for like 4 or 5 weeks now.
Yeah, so you're banging him because he's got cliches. That's a horrible thing to do, Mangone.
I'm just saying he said it.
Kushner, thank you.
I'm just saying the subs got to drink. You know what I mean? The people watching the show, they got to drink. This is a free show this week. We're making sure that people know if you're sitting there with a drink.
Everybody has isms. Okay.
Of course, yeah. I have them too, for sure.
Yeah, I legit don't think that's very nice, Travis. I think
I'm just trying to have the people drink. I'm trying to make it a good time.
You're picking on Keg, and it's not very nice.
You know what? I love Holden.
I know you do. I know you do. Chicago at Carolina. Let's get to our next game. And by the way, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, just hit the freaking button. It's not that tough. If you don't have a YouTube account, I mean, I'm not going to say you need to sign up for a YouTube account, but it wouldn't hurt, right? So Chicago at Carolina, Keg, 44.5 is the total. 2.5 point favorites at home for Carolina. I know you got an opinion on this game.
Yeah, this is another game where I think this line is wrong. Okay, we know what the Bears are: very solid defense and a true game manager at offense. Right? The defense, that front seven man, is always going to really, really give an offensive line fits because of Khalil Mack. He's a freak. We saw that last week. He sucked. sacked Tom Brady like 480 times last week. I mean, it was crazy, man. Now they're somewhere in the 8 to 11 range for me as far as how good the defense is through 5 weeks. And on offense, is Nick Foles Joe Montana? No, of course not. He rarely has a game where he drops 40 because, however, I'll die on this hill, man. He is an upgrade from Mitchell Trubisky. It might only be worth a point or two, but nevertheless, he will rarely shit the bed and completely lose a game for you. He's a solid game manager. That if the Bears defense does its job and keeps the team in the game, you should always have a chance to win with Foles. And that's exactly, what we saw last week against Tampa Bay. Now, Carolina, they're one of these teams that have surprised me this year with all the moving pieces that we saw in the offseason with Bridgewater, etc. I thought that this team was going to suffer mightily from not having a preseason because I thought they really needed it to get some, cohesiveness on that team. So what happens? They start the season. They dropped the first 2 games, right? That should have been expected. That was probably their preseason. And then, they run off 3 straight wins. Now, granted, they were wins over the Chargers, the Cardinals, and the Falcons, who all seem to be struggling right now. But still, Bridgewater and the offense has looked good, especially when you consider they're missing a massive piece of the offense in Christian McCaffrey. They were the right side last week, and the only reason I didn't put it on the sheet was because of the overreaction that I saw in the line after the Falcons game compared to what the look-ahead line was last week. So I should have just realized how bad the Falcons were and justified the move, but I didn't. So the game comes down to, for me, how good do you think the Bears and Buccaneers are? Everyone and their mother had the Bears and the Buccaneers ahead of the Panthers on the power ratings last week, right? I had the Bucs 5 points better on a neutral field over the Panthers last week. I also had the Bears 3 points better than the Panthers last week on a neutral. The Bears go out at home and they win a 1-point game against an above average team in the Bucs, right? So you upgrade the Bears about 1.5 points off their performance, and I downgraded the Bucs about 0.5 point from their performance. So what can you upgrade the Panthers when they beat one of the worst teams in football by a touchdown in the Atlanta Falcons? Maybe 0.5 point. If I did that, I would still have the Bears a 3.5 point favorite on a neutral field this week over Carolina. So I don't understand why this line is plus 2.5, plus 3 in some spots. I have to take the Bears. I have to. The line just seems way, way off to me. So as far as the total, I think it's lined out perfectly. I don't see an edge at all. Total pass for me, but give me the Bears, man.
I'm going to give you a little taste of my new player. And it's kind of like the early week previews. And me and Simon, our producer, came up with a little new format, so it should be fun. But one of the guys that I absolutely love is in this game. But on the other side of things, Mangone, would you chase DJ Moore's production from last week as we see him at 5.9 on DraftKings and 6K on FanDuel? I mean, we know the guy is a big play threat, but how much do we really want to invest in DJ Moore, given that he's got just 2 games over, 7.5 fantasy points? And then the other thing is, it's not like he's been hitting 20 points even when he goes over. What do you do with DJ Moore this week?
Yeah, so he's kind of like DJ Moore's became like the deep threat when like Robbie Anderson was known as the deep threat. Robbie Anderson is out targeted over the last 3 weeks. DJ Moore 29 to 15, right? That's pretty crazy to think. I'm still on the Robbie Anderson train. That's the guy that I'm going to be going to over DJ Moore. I just, the targets are more consistent. I'd rather be on him instead. I did want to mention too that, there was a good point brought up by Jay, right? He said, they're doing this without Christian McCaffrey. But like, so I heard Richard Sherman in an interview with Chris Collinsworth, and he said, you know what? Like, he's like, the Panthers are better without Christian McCaffrey. And like, you're like, wait, why are they better without him? And I think Richard Sherman brought up a pretty good point. He says, like, anything that Christian McCaffrey does is telegraphed. It's like they basically, if he gets the ball, they know it's like, he's going to get it, or they use him as a decoy. When they see him doing certain motions, they know he's a decoy. And basically what he's trying to say is the offense is less predictable without McCaffrey right now. I'm not trying to say that Mike Davis is better than Christian McCaffrey, but what's happening is, I think it's like, what's happening is McCaffrey is not like basically telling the defenses what's going on. It's less predictable what they're going to do. It is a Mike Davis revenge game. I don't know how excited you can get about that, but he's been in a great role, and I think he's a really good option. Even at 7K, I still think I'm going to pay for him. He's in the Christian McCaffrey role where he's getting fed those targets. And the one thing I like about Bridgewater is he does feed guys. Like, he's not really like this guy that pushes the ball downfield, at least it feels like, right? He's not a guy that's like bombing it out. You don't see him, doing the old Aaron Rodgers rollout and chuck it 60 yards. That's just not Teddy Bridgewater, which obviously helps out a guy like a Mike Davis a ton. And why we maybe don't like DJ Moore as much right now, because DJ Moore is being more of the deep threat. It's not Robbie Anderson running for those deep balls as much. On the opposite side, I do want to talk about the Bears, right? You have Allen Robinson. He has been a target machine. He just targets. You have to love him. A nice safe floor with him and good upside against this Panthers defense. And then David Montgomery, he's seen 83% of the snaps over the past 2 weeks. And that's a really nice amount of snaps. You cannot argue about that. So I think he's in play, and he's in the conversation this week as someone that you have to consider as a cash game play and a tournament option. My only concern is I've talked about all these guys in this game that I like, right? I even don't mind Bridgewater. It seems like it could be a good spot for him. But then I look and I'm like, why is this a 44.5 total? Am I going crazy? This just seems like it's too low. It feels like this total should be 47.5. I don't know. Jay, how do you feel about that?
I thought that the total seemed about right in this game to me. I didn't really see an edge on either side, if I'm being honest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, like I said, maybe it's like sometimes it happens, right? Like my DFS like mind, like I see all these plays that I like for certain reasons, like condensed targets, condensed market share, all that stuff. And I would expect it to be a higher total. That's all. Like when I opened up the slate and saw the total, I said, that looks odd. I thought it should be higher. So that's kind of where my brain went when I saw this game.
All right, guys and ladies, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got premium shows all over the place. Problem is, Mangone, I don't know what's premium, what's not anymore. So I'll just say I do my show with JSU leading up to lock. So we go from 11:30 to 12:30 every Sunday morning. JSU, guy that I think is probably if he's not the best DFS player in the world, I mean, he's right up there. NFL, NBA, baseball, he does everything. So you're getting his exclusive picks leading up to that. That's the big premium show. Are you on a premium show? Is Cash a premium show? Or Cash show?
all basically all of them are, except my what's it called? The Wood Show, right? If you want to know Sundays, I know the Wood Show. It's free with me, Big T, and Hoop. We break down the slate. We give you your game by game breakdown. That's at 10, and then 11:30 is the premium show with you and JSU. And then what happens is you lead everyone up the lock, right? So that's like 3 hours right before the games where you can dig into that. And then after that, Jay is live on the bet side, and that one's premium. So it's content over here at Run Pure on Sundays.
Good. You got to sign up. $80 a month. Not bad. What do you got going on the bet side right now? Is it still 20 a week if you want to dip your toe in? You want to make some money this week?
20 a week, 60 a month. And basically, I think other than Monday Night Football, every live betting show that we have is for subscribers. Plus, all through the MLB playoffs, obviously, the guys have been doing breakdown videos for subscribers. And we have probably one of the 3 best college basketball handicappers on the planet. Okay.
Real Max?
He is a savant, bro. And all of his content will be premium content on our channel. So yeah, it's worth it, man. Even for $20 a week, just try it out 1 week. Hopefully we get you the cash and you make enough money to sign up for a month.
And he's talking about Maxwell Smart is what he's talking about. And Max is like 5'1". He's got alligator arms, like
he's got baby arms.
Baby arms.
Yeah.
And then he picks winners, all this like college football. I tail him too. Now, Mango, and I feel like you got a rivalry with Maxwell Smart. Why do you not?
I love Maxwell Smart. First of all, you guys are the ones who are making fun of my buddy Maxwell Smart. So settle down over there, Jay. Don't call him Mr. Alligator Arms.
Listen, bro, when you've done as much content over 3 years with that kid, you could say whatever you want about that. Okay.
Oh man, that might be a fair point, but yeah, no, I love Max, and I'm excited for his college basketball stuff because before DFS, right? Before I started playing it, I loved college basketball, right? But like I don't know, now it's too tough for me to watch. It's too tough to track. I already do enough sports. I can't add another one on my plate. But you know what? I'm going to use Max's knowledge to my advantage and try and take some stuff down. So I'm excited to use some Maxwell Smart college basketball knowledge.
All right, let's get into this Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. You know, Ben Roethlisberger's not been like the greatest fantasy asset, DFS asset, but he's got a little bit of a floor. I think he's too high priced for cash, Mangone, and he's scoring between like 19 and 22 points a game on FanDuel. But Keg, this game to me might be the most fascinating on the slate from a betting perspective. So you got Cleveland at on the road getting 3.5 points. The total here is 51. I mean, Cleveland has an offense that can keep up with Pittsburgh's offense. Pittsburgh's offense can hang out with Cleveland. I think you've got a Pittsburgh defense. If they're not the top defense in the league, they're top 3. And I wouldn't put Cleveland's defense too far behind them. What's the take on this game? Cleveland or Pittsburgh?
So I completely agree with you. Most intriguing game of the week, in my opinion, is this game, right? Last week, the Browns did something that they don't normally do, and that's win a tough game that they needed to at home. And they not only won that game, but they do it against what was the number 1 defense in the league going into last week, right? And they also did it despite multiple turnovers from Baker Mayfield. So the question becomes, has this team finally turned the corner? And are they now living up to the team that everybody thought that they were going to be last year? I'm not sure that they are as good as their 4-1 record yet. Okay. When a team like this that's been bad for so long starts to play well, I usually have to see it for longer than 5 games. They gave up about 6 yards per play on offense last week. And that was in an offense in the Colts that I don't have much faith in personally, but they do appear to be starting to turn the corner. I'll at least give them that. As far as the Steelers are concerned, the offense is a machine. It seems like that they're going to hang 30 every single week. Last week, par for the course, they put up almost 40 against a really struggling Philadelphia Eagles team. And in my opinion, the Steelers are one of the best teams in the AFC. Hands down, probably 3rd best, I think. Now, they might be the best team in the AFC if their defense played the way it looked last year, but they aren't, man. In my opinion, this team is really struggling on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Football Outsiders has this team as the 3rd best defense in defensive DVOA this week, okay? That's just not what I'm seeing, man. Like, I've watched every single game, and there are spots that they look downright awful on defense for a defense that everybody on the defensive starting 11 is a 1st-round draft pick. So, you know, for that reason, I don't feel great about laying anything more than a field goal in this spot right now because I worry about the defense. And like you said earlier, the Cleveland Browns put up points. They have an offense that is going to score. So I expect them to put up points. As far as the total, I like the over in this game. When you consider the way that both of these teams are putting points up on the board and how bad at times I think that these defenses have not looked great at times, I think the full game total is in play here. And I also think over 27.5 Pittsburgh Steelers team total is in play, and maybe even the Cleveland team total over is in play. I mean, this feels like a 30-27 Steelers game to me at home. So I like the overs, and I'm going to stay away because of the hook.
Wow. All right. Are we chasing Claypool this week? Mr. Mangone, what do we do with him if Deontay Johnson is back in the game? And then on the Cleveland side, just get a couple plays from you there. But let's start with Claypool.
Oh man, can we not? Like I had Deontay Johnson in cash, so every Claypool touchdown was supposed to be a Johnson touchdown.
He got hurt again. Yeah. Johnson, I love Johnson, but he can't stay on the field right now.
Well, but I mean, hold on, just sit in my shoes, right? Not only did I lose my guy to injury, but I had to watch some other schmuck take his work and get all the touchdowns. So
Bro, are
it
you
was like,
dogging a kid that should have had 5 touchdowns?
well, I'm
He
not
is.
dogging him. I'm upset. I had a lot of money on Deontay Johnson, so I'm just saying it hurts. I see Chase Claypool running the Deontay Johnson route, so I'm like, this is what
All right.
Deontay's supposed to be doing. Let me just be miserable for 1 second here, but we're good now. We're back. Yeah, I mean, Claypool was great, right? I wonder what his DFS ownership's going to be. I'm curious. Obviously, if Deontay Johnson is back, Claypool's not going to get the same amount of work. He's definitely going to run. He's earned running more snaps and more, routes, obviously. So, and that's one issue I have with the Steelers, right? I was slightly worried when I rostered Deontay Johnson. I was like, man, they got a lot of guys they can give the ball to, right? Like James Washington, who we haven't mentioned yet of those receivers. He's a guy that, he's a competent player and has been playing a lot better. Even Juju's like their best receiver, or maybe he's not. I don't know. He's another guy that's great. You got James Conner, Benny Snell, Eric Ebron. They have a lot of mouths to feed. So that is one of my concerns with the Steelers offense. They kind of feel like a Cowboys light, where they just have like a lot of guys that you can just see getting the ball, right? If you look at their touchdown props, I bet it's going to be really spread out, because there's just so many guys that can get touchdowns, it feels like, on this team. On the opposite side with the Browns, like complete opposite, right? We have Kareem Hunt. He is not, a guy that's going to have like tons of things just, spread out, right? You are going to see Kareem Hunt getting tons and tons of work. We saw it last week, and that was the concern. Are we going to see Kareem Hunt get all of the work? And he did. I feel confident in that. The question is, how good is the Steelers defense? Do we also think that Kareem Hunt playing without a lead is going to be something that we want to roster? Those are the questions we're going to be asking throughout the week. But the volume is certainly there. Price tag is not bad. I think DraftKings at 7K, or FanDuel at 7K. DraftKings, it is 6.9K. So those are not bad prices. I can still get behind that. Those guys I'm definitely going to look at. You can obviously say this: the Browns, they could be trailing. If the Browns are trailing, you can always make a case for Odell Beckham, right? Because of how explosive he can be. The price is up more than you'd want it to be, but I still think he's a pretty strong option and someone that's in play. And I wouldn't look past Jarvis Landry either. The price is right. You can definitely make that case for him. Obviously, the volume hasn't been what it's been in the past, but the guy has upside at that price tag. So in tournaments, he could make some sense as a contrarian at play.
And the last thing I want to add is, I know that when you think of AFC North divisional games, you don't think of like high scoring affairs, obviously, right? But in this 2020 year, where there really aren't people in the stands and road teams are playing in practice bubble environments, I don't know. The over just makes sense. But I understand people are going to be like, AFC North divisional game, give me the under. But I don't know. I just feel the other way. That's all.
Okay, very good. I like this. This really is a game that's interesting, and I'm glad you brought up. Well, Hunt has to be brought up every week. That was a guy that I was not worried about last week, but I thought he had a higher upside than what he did against Indianapolis, and he only had the basically 17 points on FanDuel, and then on DraftKings, it was 18 points. So I was looking for more of a ceiling, but the big question here, Mangone, is do you trust him against the Steelers? Is he cash viable? Is he GPP viable? Going into this week, I'm a little afraid. And I love him. I've been waiting for this for weeks, year and a half.
Yeah, so that volume is the key, right? Like, he's going to be in my cash conversation, but does he make the final cut? I don't know. I think DraftKings, you can make a better case for it because, again, 6.9K, also the half point or the full point PPR, right? That's a big thing, especially if he's going to, be playing from behind. You would assume that Hunt would get some work in that passing game. We've seen how electric he can be in the passing game. And you can also make the case, like, I don't know, Baker Mayfield's not that good. So, like, again, like when my quarterback's not that good, I, love the good check down to my running back. So, yeah, that's kind of the case you can make for Hunt. And he's in my conversation. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that I play in cash for certain, but he's in the pool.
Okay. He's in the pool. Very good. I don't know if it's cash. I mean, I just don't think I don't like the price for cash. GPPs, I just feel like nobody's going to be on him because he's playing the Steelers, and I love him.
Yeah, well, it always depends. Like, the one thing about GPPs I'll say is it depends on what the optimal build is too, right? Like, what's the optimal construction? Is he a good pivot there? Ownership? There's a lot of things that have to, like, kind of be, have to kind of happen, right? So it's early in the week. We're still trying to figure it all out. And once everything kind of comes together on Friday, then that's when you start to get more into that. So that's why I kind of throw them in the pool and then I figure it out from there. So, and then on like the Steelers side, like I'm probably to go back to the well on Deontay Johnson just because the price is right. And again, not to talk about what I talked about in the past with Claypool, but he was running. He should have gotten all those routes. Like that was him. It was supposed to be his opportunity there. So I do think he's still a good play, even in cash and in tournaments. He's an even better play because people are going to be too scared to roster him with the injury stuff. So there, and then Connor too. I didn't mention him a ton, but he is kind of in a bell cow type role, right? Benny Snell is jumping in there a little, but James Conner is definitely in the conversation. I mean, 18 touches, 22 touches, and 18 touches the last 3 games. You can't ignore it here.
All right, guys, Baltimore Philly is our next game. Hit the like button here, subscribe to, and then go check out runpuresports.com. We have the core plays. We got just everything and all the sports too. Even MMA, we've just been crushing it. And then on the bet side, runpurebets.com. You want to talk about MMA? I don't know how many of you play MMA, DFS, or bet on MMA. All those guys on the bet side are just diehard MMA guys, diehard NFL guys. We got Joey Work on the baseball. So it's just amazing. So make sure you check out the 2 sites, Run Pure Sports, Run Pure Bets. Let's start with this here. Baltimore, Philly. Baltimore 7.5-point favorites on the road at Philadelphia. The total here is 47.5. I'm even seeing it 48. So anywhere between 47 and 48. I'll just start with this, Keg. Lamar Jackson, he is way down carries per game, way down. His yards per game, 84 last year on the ground, now 47.6. Is this the same Baltimore team we saw last year?
We all the guys on the bet side, especially JJ, always talk about the Ravens like he talks about the Milwaukee Bucks, regular season team that once they play the really good teams in the postseason, they kind of shit the bed. And, that's basically what we've seen this year. They beat up on the bad teams and they don't, they had a real problem with the Chiefs earlier in the season. Last week, I had to make a decision whether to back the Ravens team total over or the full game over. I ended up choosing the full game over because the Bengals looked like a pretty solid offense through the first month. And I was dead wrong, man. I was dead wrong. They were absolutely dominant. They held that team to 3.2 yards per play, the Ravens defense, right? Now, here we are a week later. The Ravens defense will now play what Football Outsiders considers to be the worst offense in football going into last week in Carson Wentz and the Eagles, right? Hindsight is undefeated for a reason. So we have the benefit of having just watched the Ravens and that defense, what they did to this basement level offense type team, right? And my gut says they're going to do the exact same thing again. So here's what I'm thinking. The line right now, 7.5 in multiple spots. If it somehow gets to a flat 7, I think I would buy on the Ravens. If it doesn't get to 7, I think the only way that I would look would probably be towards the Ravens team total over, because I think there's a good chance that they could get over their team total. I would pass on the full game total, though, because we have no idea week to week what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to put up on the scoreboard. So, and I'll add this final thought. I would be looking to target Carson Wentz rushing yards props in this game. If it's anything close to what he has averaged per game rushing in the first 5 weeks, I mean, the Ravens lived in the backfield of the Cincinnati Bengals last week. And I don't see how that changes much this week with all the problems that Philly has had with their offensive line this year. So that's really all I've got. At 7, I would consider the Ravens. 7.5, the total's a pass. Not looking to back the Eagles. Maybe the Ravens team total over, and Carson Wentz rushing yards over if it's somewhere around what he's averaged through the first 5.
Let's look at it from a DFS side here, Mr. Mangone. Miles Sanders for me is a guy I'm not chasing the points that we saw last week. It looks like Marquise Brown is starting to be Lamar Jackson's best friend. He's healthy now. I don't like Lamar Jackson this week, and I actually think this is kind of a gross game from a DFS perspective. So watch it just go through the roof. But who do you like here, Mangone? I mean, Ertz. What the hell is going on with Ertz too? They're not even looking at him. Goddard's gone now. He had 6 targets last week. I'm worried about him being washed in Philly and then he can go have a good time somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall when at the start of the season, he basically said, guys, I want to be in Philly. Like, I want to be an Eagle for life, but they don't want me. Like, he basically said that. And Dallas Goedert's like the reason why, because he's really good and he's cheaper. Nothing against you, Zach. Like, and you've definitely shown that you're a bit dusty. So that's the concern with Zach Ertz here. And he's 29, turning 30 in November. So he's getting up there in age. So that is the concern here with someone like Zach Ertz. I don't really love this Eagles side. I think the Ravens defense will do a good job holding them in check, and I'm not going to play any Eagles. On the opposite side with the Ravens, it's like, okay, so what are the Eagles? They're a pass funnel, right? I don't care if they got big play Slay. Slay has not been that great, in my opinion. And they've been a clear funnel, the Eagles defense and the secondary, because the run is so good. And that's the thing, that the Ravens are really good at running. So what's going to happen here? Is Lamar Jackson just going to become a passing stud? I don't know, but if there's a game where he does have that big passing game, this could maybe be it. I'm not saying that's even good for him, right? Do I want to pay that price for a good passing game from Lamar Jackson? Not really, right? I want him for his legs. So in tournaments, I think he's an interesting option. And I would probably pair him up with like a Marquise Brown. I do think Marquise Brown is a guy that we want to be looking at. His routes run is good. His air yards has been pretty good all around. His market share has been good. Everything has been really strong for him. I do think that this is a spot where he can have a very big game. In tournaments, I think there's a lot of upside here. I'm not saying you have to pair it with Lamar Jackson, but when you're building out those stacks, right? Sometimes you build them out and you just have like one random receiver slot open, like throw in Marquise Brown by himself, or maybe like you don't have to do a run back. I feel like I think Marquise Brown could have a really big game, and you can make the case like the Eagles spread it around too much and there's not enough guys there and no one has a big game, where you could just X everyone out of this game and only play Marquise Brown. And I think that's a great way to do it.
Yep, that's what I was looking at here. It's just everything's so gross. You could play Mark Andrews. I think because he's the only one that people are saying, okay, he's got a nice little floor, I can go and cash. Don't forget that this guy has had two games where he scored three fantasy points, okay, on FanDuel. It's been bad, but he's also had some blow up games.
Yeah, it's because he's touchdown dependent, right? And this is a spot where he could have a very big game. It depends on how the build is and the construction. Like, I think he makes sense in tournaments if it's not a pay up for tight end week and we feel like we have cheap enough running backs where it just gives you a completely different construction. So that's something I would look at. I think it's more of a tournament play than a cash play.
Okay. Very good, guys. We got one more game to get to. And then it's up to you guys to watch and read and get subscription if you're not already there to get the rest of the information that you're going to need for these plays. Rams and Niners. That's the Sunday night game. So I guess this is more of a showdown thing for us, Travis, on the DFS side. But from the bet side, I find this to be fascinating. Keg, I think last week I targeted San Francisco because their defense is an absolute debacle. They're missing corners. They're missing D4 linebackers, defensive ends. This defense is completely trashed. And then on the Rams side, I mean, the Rams just keep humming along here. I think they're nothing. Here's what it is. Goff is playing out of his mind. That's what it is. And Ramsey's been terrific on the other side of the ball. 51 is the total. I'm seeing 51.5 some places, between 3 and 3.5, with the Rams being a favorite on the road. This is not the San Francisco team from last year, Keg.
Not even close, man.
No.
And, last week we were talking about the takeaways from the Rams week 4 game against the Giants. And we were like, sometimes Sean McVay's team sleepwalks through teams that the rest of the league really isn't taken seriously either. And that was the worry with the Rams week 5 matchup against the Washington football team, right? Well, there was nothing to be worried about because the Rams absolutely dominated Washington. And when I say dominated, bro, Washington averaged the lowest yards per game of the NFL season, I believe, at 2.6 yards per play. The Rams had the offense on lock for Washington, right? So on the other side of the ball, the Rams offense looked solid. I didn't think it looked incredible, but I like the Rams team offensively. So, as a whole, I think they're the only team right now that can win the NFC West. It's either them or Seattle, right? If it's not Seattle. The 49ers, however, bro, are a complete different story. They look absolutely lost in space on both sides of the ball. You asked me last week what I liked, my third favorite play of the week was, and it was the Dolphins +9, because I really don't like this team right now at all. This is not a good year so far for the Jimmy Garoppolo truthers out there. I mean, he's looked like Sam Darnold or Kyle Allen last week. If you would have asked somebody that didn't watch the NFL last year, would you believe me if I told you that this quarterback on television was in the Super Bowl last season? People would have laughed in your face. I mean, he got benched for Beathard, bro. So, defensively, the team looks like it's missing Bosa even more than we really thought that they would have. They have a shit ton of injuries defensively. And now they go play what is probably a top 3 NFC team right now in the Rams. So as far as the spread is concerned, I'm leaning towards making this play on the Rams, even at 3.5. I'm holding off in hopes that we might see a 3 in this spot, but I can't imagine, after the public seeing the 49ers lose in back-to-back weeks and the Rams winning in back-to-back weeks, I don't think that we're going to really see a 3 here. So if it doesn't get the 3 and it stays at 3.5, I'm probably still going to be on the Rams in this spot. They just look so much better than this 49ers team.
Keg, yeah. I got him at 3 on William Hill.
Oh, really?
It's 3 minus 20. So let me ask you this: 3 minus 20 or 3.5 minus 10?
3 minus. I mean, yeah, 3
minus 20.
3 minus 20. But like, I would probably still wait to see if I can get $1.15. But okay. Yeah, I mean, 3 minus 20 over 3.5, $1.10, definitely. Yeah, for me, sure. And I'm comfortable in saying that, because they look far superior through 5 weeks. As far as the total is concerned, maybe a slight lean to the under, because we don't really know what we're going to get from the 49ers offense week to week. But the total's probably going to be a pass for me. At 3, $1.20, I'm probably on the Rams. 3, $1.15, I'm definitely on the Rams.
Hey, man, this is more of a Yahoo's thing or a Showdown. And by the way, we got the best Showdown player in the world in Big T. He's got his premium stuff. Him and Hoop drop those multiple times a week. We got Showdown sites. But what do you do here? I mean, again, if you're not playing Showdown, you're on Yahoo. Kittle's the highest priced tight end at $29. I mean, do you go to Kittle in this situation? The fact if Garoppolo isn't starting, I like him a lot more, because Mullins and Beathard use him more than Garoppolo did. We got Kupp and Woods at the top there. We've got, running backs. If you want to go there, Cam Akers is coming back this week. I suppose you have to avoid there, but Raheem Mostert at $25 looked pretty good last week. It was a blowout, so you really didn't get as much work as we thought. And then a quarterback, I don't know if either one of these guys we're going to consider for any format, but what do you just general thoughts on this Sunday night game?
Yeah, so obviously, like, I don't have the Showdown pricing in front of me, but I'm probably going to like George Kittle a lot, because I expect this team to be, trailing, right? Like, Vegas agrees that they could be trailing, and they're going to need to get Kittle involved if they want to win this game. He's going to have a big game. So I'm going to like Kittle a lot on that Niners side of the ball. Like, you guys brought up a good point about Jared Goff, right? Like, he's playing out of his mind. He's playing really well. Well, why is he doing that? Well, Holden, if I was like out on a date and I had someone in my ear, feeding me all of like the smart things to say, and I had to think for myself, it'd be a lot easier, right? Like, I don't have to come up with the jokes myself. If jokes are getting fed in my ear,
that's the plot of the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin, which is a horrible movie. But thank you for ripping that off and going with it. Okay. You've
Well,
never even heard of that movie, have you?
Was that the movie where Steve Martin has the gigantic
big
nose?
nose? He has a big nose, and the guy's
yeah.
talking in his ear so he can go bang a hot chick.
Fantastic 80s movie reference right there, bro.
It was a bad movie. And Mangone wasn't born till like 10 years ago, so it doesn't matter. He's just a 10-year-old with a beard. Anyways, Mangone.
If you had the Roxanne reference on this show, like for like at like plus 20 billion, like cash your ticket, like man, like that was out of nowhere. But,
that's the exact plot.
Yeah,
guy's talking in his ear when he's trying to get a hot chick, and he's got a nose like Pinocchio.
Well, I mean, Jared Goff and Todd McVay, or Sean McVay, they're got to be big Roxanne fans because that's what they do, man. Like he's in his ear telling them what to do, and there's no fans. Obviously, it's something that helps him a ton. So I expect him to continue to crush him. I actually pulled up Yahoo, so I'm glad you mentioned that, Holden. And I was just seeing, okay, what are their prices? I know Robert Woods kind of gets disrespected a lot on Yahoo. Cooper Kupp is $22. You know who else is $22? Chase Claypool. Like, come on, man. Like, we're playing Cooper Kupp over Chase Claypool. Like, we've done an aggressive pricing there. That's absurd. So Cooper Kupp at $22 and Robert Woods, he's $19. Guess who's $18? Mr. Travis Fulgham. I don't know how to say his game. How do you say it, Holden?
Fulgham.
Mr. Fulgham. There's no way I am playing him. I am playing Robert Woods instead. I mean, a stack of Goff, Woods, and Kupp combined with Kittle, or maybe you only play one of those Rams receivers. It's a really good one, I think, on Yahoo. It gets overlooked because it's that Sunday night game. I would not ignore that at all. And this should be a fun one, a 51 total. I'm kind of excited. Two coaches that are pretty good offensive minds, you could argue. So, yeah, I think overall I'm kind of excited for this game. It should be fun for Showdown and on Yahoo.
So you are not chasing Fulgham this week?
I am not. I will go Robert Woods instead. I'm out on any Fulgham shares.
I'm going to go out on a limb and just say that's a really, really fine philosophy going into week number 6.
There's a better chance I watch Roxanne this week than I play Travis Fulgham.
Hold and name the actress that was Roxanne.
She seems like a Daryl Hannah type of movie, but I don't know who was it.
I think it was Daryl Hannah, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
I hated that movie. I legit hated it, but I know my mom. It was Daryl Hannah. My mom used to make me go to these horrible movies. This thing called Haunted Honeymoon.
You know what, bro? I would if this was the live betting show, that would be a 30-second timeout. Okay, that
you would kick me off.
Listen. I think Roxanne is an underrated 80s movie.
You could time out me for that.
Okay.
Yeah. You can time out.
Is Roxanne like is that a chick flick there? Is Jay a little chick flick?
I think it's a rom-com, 80s styles rom-com.
Exactly.
Back when Bush was popular and all the other cool stuff. Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Again, Travis, give me one show that's premium that's amazing besides for our cash show that we're doing on Friday with Hoop.
I would say a show that's really good that's premium is our Saturday GVP show. It basically, so we talked about the chalk, me and AP. Mm-hmm. We kind of go through it and we say, hey, what's the good chalk? What's the bad chalk? How do you want to build lineups? Who are contrarian plays? Like we look at each position, we go to it and we say like, who is our favorite like low owned play? Who's our favorite pivot? Where's our best spot to get leverage? Things like that are super important when building tournament lineups. And that's something that I like a ton. We do it Saturday mornings or afternoon, somewhere around 12. And, by then a lot of stuff is figured out. We kind of, the routes that people are building, ownership is more figured out. And we have a lot of the news. So that's what's super important as well.
Yep. runpuresports.com. Then you go to runpurebets.com. We do have a combo package too for both sides. I am up multiple units in betting because of the Run Pure bet side. And we have this Discord on both sides. So you get to ask all the DFS questions over there. We got the bet side. You can ask bets questions. What's going on the bet side there? One more time, Keg.
The premium content is basically for our live betting show, which since October 18th of 2019 is up about 250 units live. So we crush it on that live betting show, man, almost every single night. And then obviously the boys are holding it down. Joey works really solid with me in MMA. Everybody I think is above 500 and having a good year as far as the NFL is concerned. And I think it's worth $20 for the week just to try it out. Hopefully you win enough money there. Costs you $60 for the month and you're good to go. And I think the combo package is like $99 for both.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
for both the DFS and the bets. Tough to go wrong when you consider the competition.
Yeah. And again, we have two of the best DFS players in the world. Mangone and Hoop, two of the best cash players in the world. We got the best bettors. I mean, JJ runs the site with you. JJ is the son of a sports handicapper for years and years and years and years. I'm waiting for him to pop up on the show too. So it's great stuff there. RunPureSports.com, RunPureBets.com. For Simon, thanks for running the show back in the studio. For Keg, for Travis Mangone, I'm Holden. Take care of yourselves.